Being with us again today for the continuation of our devotion on a mother's place in the home. And yesterday I left you with the text concerning the maid and calling the child's mother, which was Moses' mother and his sister. Today we're going to continue on, and the year was 1820, and Peter Ridgely was a very grateful man. He had survived one of the strangest and most harrowing events to mankind. The ship which he had been traveling on sank. He was rescued by some strange twist of circumstance. However, this ship sank. He was rescued again, but the third ship sank likewise. He was rescued a third time. Yet his fourth passage soon sank as well. And unbelievably, he was rescued a fourth time. But this fifth ship would sink also. It would have been laughable had it not been so serious. On the high seas, however, he floated with the serene confidence that somehow God did not want him to die. And sure enough, as if on cue, another ship came by and answered his call for help. The ocean liner, the City of Leeds, was named after its British city of origin. It was bound for England to Australia and traveled the same lane as Peter Ridgely's downed ships. The crew of the City of Leeds hoisted him aboard. Dry clothing was provided to Peter. The ship's doctor gave him a cursory exam and pronounced him to be fit, and then he asked him this unusual favor. He said, "Sir, there is this lady on board who has booked passage to Australia." The doctor explained, "She's looking for a son who disappeared years ago. She's dying and she has asked to see her son. She knows everybody on board this ship, and since you're the only newcomer, I would like for you to go and see her and pretend to be her son." He agreed. After all, his life had now been saved for the fifth time. He followed the doctor below deck and entered the cabin. There on the bed lay a frail woman with silvered hair. She was obviously suffering from a very high fever. Deliriously, she was crying out, "Please, God, let me see my son before I die. I must see my son before I die." So the ship's doctor gently pushed the young man toward the bed. Soon, however, Peter Ridgely began sobbing while looking. For lying there on that bed was the reason that he could not seem to die. Here was the lifeline that had kept him from drowning 5 times. For lying on that bed was none other than Sarah Ridgely, his mother, who had prayed for 10 years to be reconciled to her son, Peter. The ship's doctor stood in amazement as the young man fell down by the bed and embraced the sick woman. "I'm here, Mom. I'm here. It's me." Within days, the fever subsided, and his mother awakened to find an answered prayer seated at the edge of her bed. The story was told by the old Western writer Louis L'Amour in an interview he gave. This story bears out saying that truth is stranger than fiction. In researching the Louis L'Amour website, there were additional references that bear out this story to actually be a true story. Never, 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 never underestimate the power of a praying mother. In 2 Kings chapter 4, verse 17 through 20, "And the woman conceived and bare a son at that season that Elisha had said unto her, according to the time of life. And when the child was grown, it fell on the day that he went out to his father to the reapers. And he said to his father, my head, my head. And he said to a lad, carry him to his mother. And when he had taken him and brought him to his mother, he sat on her knees till noon and then died." In 2 Kings chapter 4, verse 22, she called unto her husband and said, "Send me, I pray thee, one of the young men and one of the donkeys, that I may run to the man of God and come again." And he said, "Wherefore wilt thou go to him today? It is neither new moon nor Sabbath." And she said, "It shall be well." Then she saddled the donkey and said to her servant, "Drive and go forward. Slack not thy riding for me, except I bid thee." Some scholars have come to the conclusion that this passage of Scripture was a collective group of teachings from Bathsheba to her son Solomon, whom was the greatest king that ever lived. In Proverbs chapter 31, verses 1 through 9, this is a great woman teaching her son the king the lessons of life. 1, don't let temptation for women destroy your life. The battle of flesh versus spirit. Do not drink strong drink. Do not partake of anything that is going to impair your judgment. Do not forget the law. Be merciful to those who are less fortunate and ease their pain. Speak up for those who cannot speak for themselves. Defend that which is right. This great woman trained her son in the ways of God. There was another man who claimed one day, he said, we had the meanest mother in all the world. While other kids had candy for breakfast, we had to eat cereal, eggs, and toast. When others had a Pepsi and a Twinkie for lunch, we had to eat sandwiches. And you can guess our mother fixed us a dinner that was different from the other kids had too. Mother even insisted on knowing where we were at all times. You would think we were convicts in a prison. She had to know where our friends were and what we were doing with them. She insisted that if we said we would be gone for an hour, we would be gone for an hour or less. We were ashamed to admit it, but she had the nerve to break the child labor laws by making us work. We had to wash the dishes, make the beds, learn to cook, vacuum the floor, do the laundry, and all sorts of cruel jobs. I think Mother laid awake at night thinking of more things for us to do. She always insisted on us telling the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. By the time we were teenagers, she could read our minds. Then life was really tough. Mother wouldn't let our friends just honk the horn when they drove up. They had to come up to the door so she could meet them. While everyone else could date when they were 12 or 13, we had to wait until we were 16. Because of our mother, we missed out on a lot of other things that the other kids experienced. None of us, though, have ever been caught shoplifting or vandalizing others' property or ever arrested for any crime. It was all my mother's fault. We never got drunk. We never took up smoking. We never stayed out at night or a million other things the other kids did. Sundays was reserved for church, and we never missed once. We knew better than to ask to spend the night with a friend on Saturday nights. Now that we have left home, we are all God-fearing, educated, honest adults. We are doing our best to be mean parents just like our mother was. I think that is what is wrong with the world today. It just doesn't have enough mean moms anymore. Well, thank you for being with us today. Come back tomorrow and tune in tomorrow, or come to the page tomorrow, and we will bring the conclusion of this devotion, Our Mother's Place in the Home. God bless you. This is Pastor Hudson, and I'll see you tomorrow morning.